If you're looking to start an online business in 2023, this is the video to watch. I'm going to walk you through the 3 steps that you need to launch a successful business in 2023. Most entrepreneurs dump tons of time, money, and energy into building a product that no one wants. In doing so, their business fails. They become another statistic. How do I know this? Well, I launched my second startup last year, and we're now over $1 million a year in revenue. And here are the 3 things I learned that you need to do to build a successful business: study, systems, and sales. Now for the first step, it's study. So you really need to study your target market. You need to figure out who your target market is and then run market research. You need to figure out if your target market really wants your product and service. Now, no market need is the reason why 42% of businesses fail. So if you do not spend adequate time in this stage of study of market research, then you could become another one of those 42% of businesses that fail. Now, once you've found your target market, you can build a product, but it should be an MVP, a minimum viable product, something that doesn't take a lot of time, energy, or money to build, but something that you can get into somebody's hand, or if it's a digital product, something that they can mess around with, like a software, that they can see the value prop, they can see the potential of what that product or service could do for them, and then you get their feedback. And you can ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how great is this product or service? 10 being, here's my credit card, I'm ready to buy this. 1 being, I would never buy this ever. And so if you're getting people that are scoring above a 7.5, then you're really onto something. If you're scoring below 7.5, you may need to change the product, the service, or maybe the audience, the target market that you're targeting. And once you've dialed that in, once you've iterated your MVP and you've changed up certain features of it, or you've changed the audience that you're targeting, you really want to be scoring an average of about 7.5 to 8.5. If you score above an 8.5, you may be targeting too small of a niche, too small of a market. I won't go too much further into market research because I do have another video on my channel where I talk about that. So let's move on to step number 2. Step number 2 is all about systems. Now, in this day and age, if you're building an online business, there are so many online softwares that can help you run your business. And there are really just some basic monthly costs. And what I've calculated is you really need maybe $217-ish a month to run an online business. Now, in terms of systems, I've found that it really only takes maybe $117 a month to run an online business, especially in the early days when you don't have a lot of costs. Now, at the very beginning, it might take an extra $100 to do an LLC filing or some other business formation tasks or costs. But then after that, the monthly recurring costs are really not that extravagant. You should be spending maybe $30 a month on a CRM like Monday.com. It's not a dedicated CRM, but it is actually more of a project management tool. So you can use that for project management and as a CRM, again, especially in these early days. You can also spend maybe $40 a month on a payroll provider. So if you already have an employee or if you want to pay yourself through that payroll provider, Gusto is a great option for that, and it's about $40 a month. And then for the rest, it's like $20 a month for a website, $12 a month for a good work email, and then maybe $15 a month for something that you can have customers sign contracts, so like HelloSign or Dropbox. And then lastly, you really have $0 a month for a lot of free tools like Canva for any of your graphic design needs, $0 a month for a lot of different social media platforms that you can sign up for with your work page, with a business company page that you can start posting, you can start building a community of people around your product or service. Now that leads into the 3rd step of sales. Sales can be expensive. It can be a very expensive endeavor, but especially in the early stages of your company, it should not be expensive because you are still in the learning phase. You will be doing a lot of founder-led sales, so you will be talking to customers. So it's really not pure sales. It is sales and learning. You're always trying to figure out what can you improve about your product, your service, your messaging around your product and service, or also your audience. Are you consistently finding that people just don't resonate with your product or service, or they never come back to your product or service after they've experienced it? Then those are all bad signs that mean you need to go back to something earlier in the process of that study phase where you may need to slightly alter the product, the service, or the market. Now, one thing I've heard about sales is that you can either have them fast, cheap, or good, but you can't have all 3. So the good way of getting sales is to build a community, to be very personable with people, and to really tailor your product or service to people's needs. Not actually changing the product or service, but changing your messaging, altering your messaging so that it really resonates with the person that you're talking with. Being very personable and using their personal experiences or their work experience to tie in your sales pitch. Now, that is the good way to do sales, but it does take time. It takes a lot of your personal time to do research on people. Now, if you also want to build more of a community where people are buying your product or service just because they've been around you, they've heard your voice, again, those are good sales, but that does take a long time to successfully build a community on LinkedIn or Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever it is. And typically you want to mix in a decent amount of long form content so that the people that you're targeting actually hear your voice. They see how you think, they see your reasoning, they see everything about you, and they can begin to trust you and be more excited to actually try out your product and service. Again, because they have that almost parasocial relationship with you. Now, as far as fast and cheap, those two things can be filled by something like paid ads or cold emails, things like that, where it is kind of quick and dirty. You're blasting out your product, your brand, basically, and trying to get it into as many people's heads as possible. And then hopefully a very small percentage of those people will come into your system, your funnel, and hopefully some of those people will end up as paying customers. So at scale, yeah, that could be a great option, but you do need a lot of upfront capital to be successful there. For example, paid ads, you should expect to spend thousands of dollars on those ads over a course of 3 months at least to really know if they're going to be successful or not, and you're going to get an ROI on the money that you spend in ads. So I would recommend going the good way of getting sales, of being very personable. In the early days of your company, especially as you're getting up to $1 million a year in revenue, they really do need to be founder-led sales. And it does take time, and it takes away time from building your product or service, but that's okay, because as you sell, again, you will be able to learn, you'll be able to change and improve your company and your product and service, so that once you are up to $1 million a year in revenue, you now have a perfect product or service, a very dialed in target market, and now you can hand off that sales role to another person, to another team. So in my experience, these are the 3 basic high-level tasks that you need to complete before you can really be successful in your company. You can skip a step or 2, but you will definitely feel the effects of that later on, and you likely will never be able to scale your company to insanely great heights, which may not even be your goal. But no matter what kind of business you're building, you should do these 3 foundational level steps in order to build a successful company in 2023.